Tonight, you'll climb into a soft bed, behind a locked door, and lose consciousness for hours. You won't think twice about it, but for almost the entire human story, lying down to sleep was the single most dangerous thing you did all day. Every night, our ancestors went blind, deaf, and paralyzed for hours, out in the open, surrounded by things that hunted in the dark. And the way they solved that problem is so strange and so clever that you are still doing pieces of it tonight without knowing it. This is how early humans really slept. And it was terrifying. Start with something almost nobody realizes. Out of every primate on Earth, we are the weirdest sleepers of all. Scientists have measured sleep in around 30 primate species, and humans sleep the least of any of them, roughly 7 hours a night. A chimp sleeps closer to 9.5. Some monkeys and lemurs sleep 13, 15, even 17 hours a day. In fact, based on our biology, models predict we should sleep around 10 hours. We don't even come close. And we make up the difference in a startling way. Humans spend more of the night in REM, the deep, dream-soaked stage, than any primate alive. Where some monkeys spend barely 5% of their sleep in REM, we spend around a quarter of ours there. We didn't just shorten sleep, we concentrated it. So the real question isn't why we sleep so little. It's what scared us into giving up all that sleep in the first place. Picture the world your ancestors actually slept in. No walls, no doors, no light once the fire burned down. Just darkness and ears. Think about what sleep actually does to you. Your muscles go slack, your hearing fades. Your eyes go dark. Sleep is the most vulnerable state an animal can be in. You can't watch. You can't run. For hours, you are soft, slow prey. And for most of our history, we were not the top of the food chain. We were on the menu. And the African night belonged to things built to use it. Big cats, hyenas, predators with eyes far better than yours in the dark. For most animals, the answer is to sleep somewhere safer. And that's exactly where our story begins. Up off the ground. Because our oldest sleeping trick wasn't a bed. It was a tree. So how did a slow, ground-dwelling ape ever survive a single night out in the open? The answer came in 3 inventions. And the last one is the reason you don't sleep alone even when you think you do. Invention 1. The bed. Every single great ape alive, chimps, gorillas, orangutans, builds a fresh sleeping nest every night, bending branches into a platform high in the trees, safe from ground predators. Our earliest ancestors almost certainly did the same. The very first beds were made of living wood, rebuilt from scratch every single evening. Invention 2. Fire. At some point, our ancestors did something no animal had ever done. They came down out of the trees to sleep on the ground. And got away with it, because they carried a weapon against the dark. A fire throws light, throws heat, and keeps predators at the edge of the shadows. Fire turned the deadly ground into a place you could actually survive the night. And it may have done something subtler still. Coming down out of the branches to stretch out on flat, warm ground is one likely reason human sleep grew so deep. You simply rest harder on solid earth than you ever could wedged in a tree. But fire goes out. Someone has to feed it. Which brings us to the third invention. And the one that changes everything. Because the cleverest thing our ancestors ever did to survive sleep wasn't a tool or a flame, it was each other. Here's the idea, called the Sentinel hypothesis. If a group all sleeps at once, everyone is helpless at the same time. But if people drift off and wake up at slightly different times, some early birds, some night owls, some restless elders, then at almost any moment of the night, somebody is awake. A living, breathing alarm system. For decades, it was just a theory. Then researchers spent 20 days quietly recording the sleep of 33 Hadza adults using motion sensors to find out how often the whole camp was unconscious at the same time. The answer is the part that should give you chills. Over 20 full nights, the entire group was asleep at the exact same moment for a grand total of 18 minutes. That's it. The rest of the time, basically the entire night, every night, at least one person was always awake or lightly dozing with one ear open. On average, a third or more of the camp was up at any given moment. Nobody assigned these shifts, nobody volunteered. It happened naturally because humans simply vary in when they get sleepy. The grandmother who wakes at 4, the teenager who won't sleep till 1. We treat those as quirks. For your ancestors, they were a 24-hour watch that no predator could ever catch sleeping. And there may be a quiet reward buried in this. In these same societies, the chronic insomnia that haunts more than 1 in 5 people in modern cities is rare. Some communities barely have a word for it. A life with a built-in night watch, it seems, can also be a life with less to fear in the dark. So with all that danger, you'd assume early humans slept badly, in short, broken bursts. Here's where the truth surprises almost everyone. When researchers tracked 3 hunter-gatherer style societies on 3 continents, the Hadza, the San, and the Tsimane, the numbers were remarkably consistent. They slept around 6.5 hours a night. That's the low end of what people in modern cities get. They drifted off about 3 hours after sunset, not at dusk, and they woke before dawn. And what pulled them under each night wasn't darkness. It was the falling temperature as the night cooled. Their sleep even breathed with the seasons, running about an hour longer in winter than in summer. And here's a myth worth killing. You've probably heard that humans naturally sleep in 2 shifts. A first sleep, then an hour awake, then a second sleep. That pattern is real, but it was documented mostly in pre-industrial Europe, with its long, cold winter nights. The equatorial groups closest to our ancestral past mostly slept in 1 solid block. So that romantic 2 sleeps idea probably isn't how Stone Age humans slept at all. So, put it together. The terror wasn't a flaw in how we sleep. It designed how we sleep. We gave up hours of sleep because staying alert longer kept us alive. And to survive on less, our sleep evolved to be shorter, deeper, and packed with more dream-rich REM than any other primate gets. You don't sleep like a chimp anymore, you sleep like an animal that learned to do it fast and do it guarded, cheating nature out of nearly a third of the sleep it expects you to need, and paying the difference in dreams. And the watch never fully switched off. Sleep in an unfamiliar hotel, a new apartment, a strange bed, and you'll toss and wake at the smallest sound. That's not random. In a lab, scientists found that on your first night somewhere new, 1/2 of your brain stays measurably more awake than the other. A night watch, ready to wake you fast if something's wrong. By the second night, once the place feels safe, it relaxes. Half your brain is still standing guard at the campfire. It just doesn't tell you. So tonight, when you lie down behind your locked door and let yourself fall, completely, helplessly unconscious, understand what a strange privilege that is. For 300,000 years, almost nobody could afford it. Somebody always had to keep watch. You only get to sleep that deeply because for thousands of generations, someone in the dark beside your ancestors refused to. And if you think sleeping was dangerous, wait until you see what they had to do just to find their next meal. That story's right here.